Farmers are now begging. Farmers are begging to make a trade deal with China for soybeans. Begging. There is no trade deal. It's the end of August for soybeans for farmers in the United States.
Okay, and then of course tariffs. We talked in May. Farmers were along for the ride, but they said it would have to be a small ride, a short ride. And we're still sitting here now in August, and things, we see a little bit of delays. We've seen some get done, but yesterday the president sent out a tweet, sent the soybean market flying. Today it's dropping right back off. I mean, farmers are really concerned about this, especially when it comes to China. Where are we at, and what's some message you're hearing from the president?
United States soybean farmers are urging the president to make a deal with China as quickly as possible, because the harvest is coming up for these soybeans, and China has not pre-bought any soybeans that are being grown in the United States right now.
Imagine how much you have to fuffle by going back to the same person you told you don't need them, but then now you are begging them to buy your soybeans because you have so much. And these people literally changed their mind and they're buying from somewhere. And that's the story right now. The farmers are begging China. Begging China. And also begging Trump to help them so that China buys their soy, because otherwise they don't have anywhere to put their produces. It's too much. Welcome back to the channel, my people. I do hope that from wherever you are watching this from, you are doing all right. Hopefully God has protected you and preserved you very well. And I do appreciate all of you again, as always, that support me on here. Big shout out to my members as well. You guys do me amazing. We are back with today's episode of Farmers in America. Yeah, the thought their man is really going to save America. Yeah. Now they are begging China to help them take these produces because they don't have anywhere else to sell. Oh gosh, this is so sad. My mother is a farmer, so I know how this feels. The difference is my mother is not the type of farmer that they are anyway. But I think we are going to look at these videos, clips, and credit goes to all the creators in here. We'll come back and talk about it. Do me a favor, like the video, share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think. I'll be back.
On this episode of Trying to Find Out,
we are very concerned about the current outlook. As a soybean farmer, we are dependent on trade. Right at 50% of the soybeans produced in the United States are exported. China takes more of our soybeans than all other foreign customers combined. So they're a major part of our market, and this trade war is very concerning to us right now.
That is Caleb Ragland, president of the American Soybean Association.
Well, the ag economy in general is already in a tough spot. The last couple of years, prices have declined. Soybeans are down 40% from where they were 3 years ago. Cost of production are higher. Interest rates are higher. The overall farm economy is struggling. Then we had a trade war with our biggest customer.
According to Caleb, due to the tariffs on China, he could be out of business by 2027. Why, might you ask? Because this time last year, China had already pre-ordered about 5 million metric tons of soybeans. And this time today, 0. Now, word on the block is due to the tariffs, China has turned to Brazilian soybeans instead of American soybeans. But you better believe Caleb has not lost hope in his daddy.
We want to keep this nation strong. We're the backbone of America. And I know the president said he loves farmers, and I believe he does. I think he's trying to do what's right for this country. But we do want to make sure that our voice is heard and realize that we got to make sure that we survive through these tough times. And
some of these find outs just write themselves. Have the day you voted for.
Okay, and then of course tariffs. We talked in May. Farmers were along for the ride, but they said it would have to be a small ride, a short ride. And we're still sitting here now in August, and things, we see a little bit of delays. We've seen some get done, but yesterday the president sent out a tweet, sent the soybean market flying. Today it's dropping right back off. I mean, farmers are really concerned about this, especially when it comes to China. Where are we at, and what's some message you're hearing from the president?
And this is where we really are seeing a little bit of pain, of course, from the farmers. And they are frustrated with the tariff situation. They've expressed that to me. But then they immediately turn around and they say, we understand why the president is doing this. Yeah. So they are feeling pain. But what they want to see is a reset when it comes to trade, and to make sure that we as the United States are getting the trade situation right.
Estimates show that China's retaliatory tariffs could cost American soybean farmers roughly $5.9 billion in lost revenue. How are you and other farmers reacting?
We're very concerned, Phil. We have a precedent from the trade war we went through about 7 years ago that was devastating to the American soybean farmer. Over that period of time, we lost nearly $20 billion of trade with China. Trade is 50% of the acres that are produced in the United States. And of that, currently 25% of our soybeans that we raise go to China.
To farm it.
Doug Fuller's family has been farming in northern Polk County for generations.
Now I get to call all the shots.
He's already nervous about the cash crop he's about to start planting. Soybeans are the target of China's retaliatory tariff, 10% on certain imports from the United States, in response to President Trump's 10% blanket tariff on Chinese goods. Fuller is fearful it spells bad news for the 2025 harvest.
You know, they aren't good for the other countries, they aren't good for me. And who could blame them putting reciprocal tariffs on us? You know, it's just a match, you know, and nobody's going to win.
China is one of the largest overseas markets for American soybeans. According to the USDA, the United States exported nearly $13 billion in soybeans to China last year alone. Fuller has already faced 2 years of bean prices dropping and says it looks as if the trend may continue.
Last year we took a step back, and now we're taking another step back. So I'm, you know, many of us we'll get through it, and it's going to be tough on others.
Farmers are now begging. Farmers are begging for the current administration to make a trade deal with China for soybeans. Begging. There is no trade deal. It's the end of August for soybeans for farmers in the United States. Do you want to know what percentage that we sent to China? 60 to 70% of soybeans were sent to China. China has moved on. China has moved on to Brazil. China has made deals with everyone else. China has put this administration on ignore. But I don't want you to feel sorry for farmers. Do you know why? Because he did exactly this to farmers for soybeans, losing them about $10 billion in 2018. Please Google this. Please Google it. And they voted for him again. And a lot of them say they would vote for him again, even though bankruptcies are the highest they have been in years for farmers. There are no trade deals for soybean, nor will there be. China, checkmate. US, zero. $49.5 billion is how much it is estimated for us to have a trade deficit in agriculture in 2025, which is farming and cattle ranching. $49.5 billion loss to farmers who voted for Donald Trump again. Yes, he did screw them over his first term. And the first term, he actually bailed them out. So far, it doesn't look like he's bailing out any farmers or any MAGA that has voted for him. So $49.5 billion loss just for 2025. But wait, there's more. All these countries that thought, oh, I only trade with the United States of America, and they've moved to other countries. They've made trade deals with other countries. It's like you switching a restaurant and you never go back. So $49.5 billion so far is an estimate. It's an estimate. So this is a farmer's FAFO, getting everything they voted for.
Here's Joe from Georgia. So United States soybean farmers are urging the president to make a deal with China as quickly as possible because the harvest is coming up for these soybeans, and China has not pre-bought any soybeans that are being grown in the United States right now. That's never happened before. As a matter of fact, last year, China bought 54% of the United States supply of soybeans, about $13.4 billion worth. And this year, they don't even have a contract for any of the soybeans. And what China has done is they've turned to the country of Brazil, who is now sending their soybeans to China. China does not have to purchase from the United States. And the farmers are telling the president, the longer that this situation stays to where their soybeans are not being purchased, the longer this drags out, the worse the economic impact is going to be for the soybean industry in the United States. Now, there are hundreds of farmers in the Midwestern states, especially, a lot of them in Iowa. Soybeans and corn aren't being purchased by China So these farmers are saying something must happen soon or it's going to be financial disaster for them.
Hola amigos, Mel here. You remember 2018 when China-US trade war kicked off? Well, it all started with soybeans. And fast forward to Trump 2.0 and guess what? We're still talking about soybean. And here's the twist. The very farmers who voted for Mr. Tariff are now on the edge of financial cliff. So basically they cannot survive a prolonged trade war with China. And that's not me saying it, it's from the president of the American Soybean Association who just wrote a letter to President Trump. Well, this year, China hasn't bought a single cargo of US soybeans from the next harvest. And normally, China would have already purchased about a quarter of its needs even before the harvest began, which is in September. And now, why we're talking about soybeans? Because China buys tons of agricultural products from the US. Soybeans, grains, oilseed. And in China, soybeans are mainly used for animal feed, and with growing middle class eating more meat, and the demand just soaring over the past few years. But after the first Trump trade war, China changed the game. Instead of just depending on the US, it shifted to Brazil. And the numbers are wild. Listen, since 2010, Brazilian soybean exports to China has jumped over 280%. Well, sure, the US can always try to sell soybeans to other countries, but the scale is just not enough to make up for losing China. And let's look at the global supply. Brazil and Argentina together produce over half of the world's soybeans, with Brazil alone at 40%, and US takes about 30%. If we're talking about supply and demand, China is doing just fine. But for the US farmers, the trade war has been cost them dearly. So 2 rounds of the trade war, China's eating steak, Brazil is cashing checks, and the US farmers are left holding the bag.
Donald Trump has been reduced to begging China to help him out in his trade war. Mr. Art of the deal, Mr. Standing firm that there was nothing China could do to get the tariffs dropped, is now begging China to help him out. Take a look at this. China should open its markets to USA. Would be so good for them. Closed markets don't work anymore. These are not the words of a man that is standing his ground, that thinks he has all the cards in a trade war. Those are the words of someone who is begging, hey man, I know I started this, but please, let's get out of this. This comes after he already has suggested that tariffs should be dropped to 80%. But of course, he wouldn't say it was up to him, even though he's president. He's leaving it up to Secretary Bessent to do it, so he doesn't have to take responsibility for caving. Donald Trump knows he is in a position of weakness. He has no cards in this game anymore, and he is desperate to get out of this without looking like the loser that he is.
What does it mean when China stops buying American soybeans? Does it mean she's finally got America's attention? And now the only question is whether or not Americans want to listen. The next step, I expect China stop buying American bonds. However, I fully expect that to be followed up by the threat of American bombs. What, you can't take my debt? You try to say you better than me? Well, sometimes being better is not determined about what you can do with the situation in front of you. Because if you look into it, sometimes being better is about what you can do, yet you choose not to do it. Because you're on the side of God, and there's just certain things you don't want nothing to do with, especially if it's evil and you know it's going to hurt a lot of people. The opposite of evil is live. And when you can live positive every day like you should, then you know that you waking up thinking, every day, my job is to make God look good. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pray that we have a great rest of a beautiful day. Peace.
Oh, soybean farmers in America are finding out. Donald Trump recently asked China to quadruple their purchasing of American soybeans. Donald, since the initial trade war you started, China started buying all their soybeans from Brazil and Argentina. All thanks to you. And now with their inputs going up and their exports going down, the American farmer can't survive. With small farm bankruptcies being at a 5-year high since the last Trump administration, nationwide farmers voted for Donald Trump at almost an 80% clip. Because even though Donald Trump ruined them last go around, he gave out the welfare queens their farmer subsidy that they needed. You know, welfare for me, the farmer, but not for thee, the citizen in America. With no talk of a subsidy on the horizon, their immigrant labor gone, the farmer having to pay more for the fertilizer they import and then the farming equipment they get from other countries. And now those other countries not buying their grain, their wheat, their soybean because of Donald Trump's tariffs that have made reciprocal ones in the countries that they're selling their agriculture to. And don't worry, farmers. I mean, these private equity firms can't wait to own your farm at the rock bottom prices they're going to be able to buy them for. I wonder if Blackstone will just incorporate the entire state of Nebraska. Your racism got you, your hatred towards a system that does nothing but help you out and deliver for you in every way. But you wanted to take that away from other people, didn't you, farmers? You want everybody else to pull themselves up by your bootstraps, while the government makes you a welfare queen year after year. And the farmers are finding out.
Trump loves putting and applying pressure on people. And it is so sad because there's no open negotiations about most of the things that he does. He just wakes up one day and he decides, you get a tariff, get a tariff, get a tariff, get a tariff. Figure out, and we want you to bow down and bend and take what we are giving you. A lot of people are like, oh, US has been making laws because they've been charging us quite a lot but US takes out a lot from most of these countries. But the pressure they put on others, it's the Americans that later on feel it, because guess what? It's the cost of living that increases, the groceries increase, and the salaries do not increase, unfortunately. So whenever these other people that he thinks are going to bend their knee and worship him refuse, it's the Americans that suffer, just like it is right now. These people have produced a lot, and they are not the only ones that are actually crying. Just of recent, the farmers that were, growing wheat as well, they've been crying because, again, they don't have a market anymore. Even Canada is trying to cut off the trade deals. They don't want to trade with America anymore because of the disrespect that this man, like the integrity and respect of others is not on like Trump's book. He doesn't have that. He disrespects people, and he wants to make America seem like it's the greatest country in the whole world and they don't need anything. But unfortunately, nobody can live independently by themselves. So you will need others for some things. They might be as small as a needle, but that is a need that you do not have. He promised these farmers that, he wants to make sure that at least, they produce stuff in this country. He wants to make the country better. He wanted to revamp the industrialization and factories and all of that. Well, when you do this, where are you going to sell the things that you're making if you have already spoiled and literally just destroyed your reputation and relationship with other people? And it doesn't have good international relationship skills. And if you are a leader and you don't have that, that is very sad, because the way you relate with other countries, other leaders, is why you are able to stay in that game for so long. But if you don't have that, then you're not. And that's exactly what he did. When he put all the tariffs on everybody else, and he did not expect others to retaliate because I don't know what he was thinking. That was crazy. And China knows that there are more other people that can produce what we need. Now, yes, China indeed has stuff they need from the US. And it's not just that. China makes a lot of money out of the US as well. And yes, that money went. But they are opening free market elsewhere. And they fighting with people that are overly ambitious, that will do anything to make sure they can, outshine you. I don't know how this is going to go. But again, it's the Americans in the end that struggle, that suffer. And unfortunately, most of the farmers voted for him. And now they are getting, I don't know if they're getting what they voted for. But that's what it is right now. Himself, he begged, And now the farmers are like, please work out something. And I don't think he's going to work out anything because he has a very big ego. I don't think he's willing to bend his knee to get to terms with what China wants. And I feel like China, now that they have discovered others, they will continue to trade with others. He's isolating his own people and literally making them, poor, on top of sending away their workers. And then now this. Meanwhile, some of these states were already going bankrupt. And now this. Anyway, let me know what you all think in the comment section, because for me for today, that's it. I think it's a 4 edition. The farmers still continue to experience this as more other people, like the small businesses as well. They are still feeling it as well. But anyway, put those thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I think from me for today, that's it. I'll see you in another amazing video. Until then, my name is Gracie. Love you all. Bye.